Now, Eva, can you explain a little about the German citizenship restitution process and what it means for former German citizens?
Thank you very much, Angelo, and hello, everyone. Look, this process has been available in the German law for quite some time, actually, but there was no legal framework for it, and therefore people didn't know how to apply, or in fact, many people's applications ended in rejection. So the new legislation and the new framework that was introduced in Germany in September of last year kind of regulates everything to do with that process. So I'm going to take you through briefly about what happened in September of last year and how it all works. So the process is called restoration or restitution of German citizenship. And it's available for former Germans who were deprived of citizenship or their descendants. So anybody that can prove essentially that their ancestors were stripped of citizenship or deprived of citizenship and that they are related to them in a direct line would be able to get their citizenship back. So it's on political, racial, or religious grounds, and the time period is 30th of January 1933 to 8th of May 1945, when Second World War ended. So it is a process of naturalization, actually, and it's in accordance to Article 1162 of the German Basic Law. So, as I said, if somebody's alive that can prove that they were discriminated against or stripped of citizenship or denied citizenship. So in other words, they may have qualified but never were able to get it for reasons of discrimination, they can now get it back. And this also applies to descendants. So the entire framework relates to the National Socialist persecution. So it's pursuant to Section 15 of the German Nationality Act. We will, after this session, post links to where you can read more about all of this. You can contact us, of course, if you want any more information about how it all works. But it is something that the German legislators worked on for quite some time to get it right, and it's it's about towards people that were either held German citizenship or qualified for German citizenship but weren't able to get it. So in practice, what I was hoping to do this morning is just give you a couple of examples of what that might look like in case you find yourself in that category. So essentially, the legislation applies to anybody who was persecuted on religious or other grounds between 1933 and 1945, as I said. Sometimes proving it is not that easy. So typically what the German government would expect is firstly to find documentation about your ancestors. And that could include things like being registered as a Jewish person in Germany, because there were special provisions for Jews. At some point, just before World War II broke out, Jewish people were asked, or they were actually compelled to add an extra name to the documentation. So no matter what first name they had, for women, they had to add Sarah. There was also provisions like that to indicate that you were Jewish. So if you can find in your home archives any documentation that says Jewish on any paperwork, whether it's residential records or something else, that can be used then to prove that very likely your ancestors were discriminated. And the types of documents that you could use really varies because, everyone's story is different, but it could be residential records. Some people were deprived of ability to work or study. So anything from the German government, from either that you have or we can look for in the archives would be useful for this purpose. And also documentation such as immigration papers, or even things from the country that people immigrated to, such as America, where it is stated or proven or documented that they were subject to persecution in Germany in that period of time that I mentioned. The other interesting thing is that even if you did not hold German citizenship at the time, or your ancestors, but lived in Germany for more than 10 years, you can still apply. So it's really quite a flexible type of legislation. And I think the German government legislating it in this way has opened a lot of doors for a lot of people that may potentially want to pursue this. So number one, you need to prove that your ancestors or yourself, if you are still around, were persecuted in that period of time. The second thing, if you are a descendant, you need to prove kinship or the links to the people that you're related to. So that would be typically birth certificates, marriage certificates, or any other documents linking you to the person who you're using to apply for German citizenship through this particular pathway. What else can I mention about this? Look, it takes approximately 6 months, and it is a process that's relatively streamlined, and the German government's quite helpful when it comes to processing these applications. The strongest cases are those that are well documented. So the more documentation you have, the more paperwork you have, the better. Of course, that's not always possible, given the history and what happened to people. They simply had to flee. And sometimes, providing that documentation can be challenging. However, having said that, German archives do have lots of documents that you can use for this purpose. If need be, we can look for it, and we put a submission on your behalf, if you were to work with us, to the German government, explaining what happened, the historical background, and how we can link you to those people that were subject to persecution. We have been quite successful with any of the applications that we filed on behalf of our clients, starting from research, because many people come to us with no documentation, and that's of course understandable. So we look for documents to prove all the things that I've just mentioned, but also help you put together the application, fill in the forms, and file it to the German government. We do that directly in Germany. We don't necessarily work through the consulate. The consulate, as helpful as it is as an institution, it only acts as an agency in a sense. So they collect your application and they send it off to the ministry in Germany, to the office that processes those applications anyway. We do translations, all kinds of things that go into the submission. And as I said, typically it takes about 6 months, unless the German government has any questions. They also do their own research if need be. They have their own official channels that they can pursue, and archives that they can access. But typically we would put the application together in such a way that it's easy to approve and it goes right through. So we've had 100% success rate in any of the applications that we've handled. So hopefully what I've said, and I have gone 100 miles an hour, is clear enough, but we will be posting some more information on the post when it's finished. And I should also encourage you to contact us if you have any questions, if you're wondering, would I be eligible? Would I not be eligible? How can I find documents? What type of documents do I need to provide? So all of that information our staff can help you with. So feel free to reach out. There'll be an email address, or even through Facebook you can, to find out more information about how it works. Again, the process is called restitution of German citizenship through. It's a particular pathway that's available for particular people that were subject to persecution between 1933 and 1945. So thanks everyone for your time. Hopefully this has been a useful session. Get in touch if you want to explore this further.